What's up, it's Lerald. And PoE finally got updated with all of the support gems that were added in patch 0.3, so here I have the update to the warrior build that I've been playing this league. And let me tell you, warrior is amazing. I am so glad that I chose to league start it. This is my favorite archetype in the game right now. I am definitely stronger on whatever it is, day 4 or something, than I have ever been in the first week of the 2 leagues that have existed of PoE 2 thus far. I have been blasting in-game content with ease. I steamrolled through, Simulacrum very easily. The build is tanky as hell. Tankier than I thought possible. Also, in typical me fashion, I've done a lot to make the build faster and smoother and easier to play, and mission accomplished. It's goated. I can't recommend it highly enough. I'm really pumped. So let's get into it, but first be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join our Discord as well. We just hit 1,000 members yesterday, and we're super hyped about it. Join now and be part of the next 2,000 or 3,000 and so on. Alright, so I'm going to start with some FAQs here. We got a lot of questions off of the last video, including where are all the support gems, which, you know, they weren't in PoE, but they will be now. But the first most common one was, what are those green spikes? What is that amazing green spike animation that you're getting out of all your skills? And it's actually just Fist of War support. That is the new look that GGG is going with for, like, martial characters, big, hulking, strong guys. Usually they're red or brown. I think they're like World of Warcraft warrior colors. But not so in PoE. They're going with jade green as, like, the cool color choice, sort of a jade green and some blue sparklies, and I love it. I think it looks a lot better than brown, so big fan there. Next question. Armor break, where do we get it? We have all these points invested into armor break, like breakage, but where do we actually get the armor break from? Shattering blow. This notable right here makes it so you break 50% of armor on heavy stunning an enemy. This scales up with all the armor break that we get throughout the tree. We have lots of armor break, well over 100%, thanks to like reverberating impact and breakage. And so it more than breaks 100% of armor on enemies. All you have to do is heavy stun them, which is pretty easy on pretty much everything you fight, and then they have their armor broken, and you can just kind of, usually things are dead before that matters, but you can kind of rinse repeat on that over and over again. Then the next thing I would say that we've gotten a lot of feedback from people on is some people just don't like PoE 2, which is totally fine. It is okay to not like PoE 2. But it is weird to tell us. We don't make the game, neither of us could do anything with that information. Thanks for letting us know, I guess. Alright, so something that I did get asked about a lot was the difference between like Slam and Stampede, like which one is better, and I spent a little bit of time in the campaign playing around with Stampede, and I didn't really like it as much, because you don't have as much control over the character. You know, you have to take these 3 big steps and then slam down super hard. You know, kind of like you're cutting the lawn. The Lerald method. 3 steps, slam the lawnmower down 4 feet into the ground, repeat. So the thing about this that is actually kind of good compared to Leap Slam, where Leap Slam has more control, Stampede doesn't have the weird interlude in it, where if you Leap Slam into a pack, you're just getting hit in the face while you're up in the air. You're getting hit in the ankles super hard, like the entire way. With Stampede, you are stomp, stomp, stomp and doing damage. You're also triggering all of the fissures that you have on the ground with every stomp, which is not something you do with Leap Slam. So there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages to both, and ultimately I have switched over to using Stampede as my daily driver, if you will, my main right-click skill for just clearing through maps. I think basically it just works better for, like, clearing trash. For one, you're not kind of skipping stuff. You know, Leap Slam does leave some stragglers here and there. It's nice for, like, quickly sniping out, elites or rares or whatever. You just hunt them down and Leap Slam on their head. It's also good for getting across gaps, which I don't think I have any jumpable gaps in this area, but maybe, let's see. Hell yes. So that is what I like about Leap Slam, and that's why I've ultimately kept it as a skill that is keybound, is sometimes I'll hit one of these spots where I want to Leap Slam up onto something. You do kind of have to get a bit of a running start sometimes in order to make a leap. It can be a little touchy making some jumps, but it's definitely nice to be able to just like jump to the end of some maps with Leap Slam. But most of the time I'm just stampeding. Stampede works really well. It also has a larger AoE radius at the end. It doesn't do as much damage per hit, but because it is hitting more times, there's more chances to stun enemies and just not get blasted while you're jumping into melee range with a pack of dudes. Alright, and with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the skill section of the PoB. So, or maybe this is actually easier to show in game, but I'll show the PoB as well. So I have Stampede here, I have it hooked up to Fist of War, I have that on like every single one of my slams. You know, Fist of War makes everything look nice, it also makes it huge and do tons of damage. And with Fist of War 2 only being like a 4-second cooldown on that, it's just insanely good. Then I'm using rapid attacks. I'm using this on like anything that I'm going to be using quite a bit, because like the difference in attack speed with and without rapid attacks is pretty noticeable. Yeah, like it is 0.82 seconds versus 0.67 seconds. Like quite a big difference in attack speed. It really feels a lot better, and you move a lot faster with having more attack speed. Aftershocks are something that I'm also using on as many skills as I can use them on, and that's because Aftershocks essentially are like double damage, because we're using slams. Aftershocks just do the same amount of damage a second time. They basically just cast a skill a second time. So not only do they look cool, it's just a massive damage multiplier, so using that. And then Crater is creating fissures, and Branching Fissures is creating extra fissures off of those fissures. Like we can kind of show that off here as I run. You see the fissures branch out, and then there's even more little branching segments off of them. This is just to compare. Branching Fissures removed, you can see like it's just a line coming out. And then with Branching Fissures rank 2 active, you can see the little extra bits. So this really is good for clear. There are some other things that you can use instead. I played around with Magnified Effect, like just more AoE. I liked that. I also played around with Stomping Ground for Stampede. That does give you like a little extra shockwave on all your steps. Good for single target damage. I think I like it more for bossing than Branching Fissures, but for clearing, which is mainly what this is for, Branching Fissures is awesome. It also does kind of nuke your graphics cards, so like I have turned some settings down. I've gone to like performance mode on some stuff, and I think it still looks pretty good, and my GPU isn't screaming at me every couple of minutes now. So that's definitely been a good change. Then I have Forge Hammer, Hammer of the Gods, Sunder, Leap Slam, Infernal Cry, and then the usual trifecta of auras. I have just 100 Spirit. If I had any more, I might try phasing out. Realistically, I probably would drop Leap Slam and try and fit in either like a banner or maybe the Berserk support, or Berserk aura, because I am using Rage. That does have some downsides as well, though. You know, it burns through a lot of health. So ultimately, I'm just happy with like this setup with, you know, this is a nice, no extra spirit required kind of deal. So in terms of the way that I actually play, 99% of the time when I'm in maps, I'm just stampeding around. That's it. Sometimes I might like finish off one like little guy with a mace strike or something, but most of the time I just stomp around and everything dies. When I get to a rare or usually a boss, you know, somebody who's like really tanky and not dying, then I will drop a Forge Hammer on their head, yell at it, and then again, because of the Branching Fissures, along with you know, all the rest of the supports, you can see it has this humongous area that it fills up. And so if it's like a smaller enemy that's just a little bit tankier, you could throw the hammer down, yell at it, make all the lines pop up, and then stampede on it some more. That's kind of the basic combo, like a 1, 2, 3. If they're really tanky and you have stun stuff to build up a Hammer of the Gods, then what you'll do instead is you will throw down the Forge Hammer, yell at it, drop a Hammer of the Gods, and then as soon as you've done the Hammer of the Gods, you know, part of the reason for that is you have the Infernal Cry buff affecting the Hammer of the Gods, so it's going to hit a lot harder. It's also has kind of a bit of a delay, so you will have probably heavy stunned them by that point, so they'll have their armor broken. So once the Hammer of the Gods is in the air, I will then throw a Sunder out so that it'll hit right before Hammer of the Gods does. It'll double break their armor, make them take 20% more damage from everything, but including the Hammer of the Gods. And then it also just has this very satisfying effect of like throw the hammer, yell at it, Hammer of the Gods, Sunder, and then you get this like quadruple hit all at once. And then potential for aftershocks on all those as well. So all the support gems are in the PoB, as you can see here. I won't belabor the point of going through every single one of these over and over again. I have kind of made a point, especially with like Sunder, there are some things like Heavy Swing that you could use that would make it hit significantly harder, but also slower. And something I've really come to like with Sunder in some of the more dangerous maps, like Abyss maps, maybe even not dangerous to me as a character, dangerous to like my graphics card, dangerous to my FPS. You can stand way away with Sunder and just throw Sunders from like, sometimes they'll cross over like cliffs or through some walls. You could throw Sunders from very far away and get a lot of clear with Sunder without having to actually engage in melee in situations where, you know, like Abyss, basically. Also, Sunder does work with Branching Fissures because Sunder itself, all of these mechanics are fissures. So like if I drop the Branching Fissures out, you can see that the Sunder line is smaller. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. The Sunder line is definitely like a lot smaller there. If I put the Branching Fissures back on, You can see like it looks considerably larger to me. And I've seen some spots it's kind of harder to demonstrate, although actually I think it kind of showed it right there, where sometimes the fissures will branch off at very oblique angles. Like it'll be shooting this line straight to the north or northwest or whatever, and then a line will just be shooting way off like southwest from there. Then I just have Leap Slam mostly just for like crossing over gaps and stuff. You know, the positive that Leap Slam provided for like bossing and heavier, whatever, tankier targets is that it does have this huge stun buildup component to it. 98% more stun buildup at level 25. That's good for like really getting quick early stuns on bosses, so that is something you could use like Leap Slam for. The issue is that it does eat fully broken armor from enemies, so you don't really want that. You do want to keep that fully broken armor up buff up as long as possible, and you know, even to like buff it up with Sunder. So that was ultimately the reason that I kind of phased Leap Slam out as my main clearing skill and switched over to Stampede, is because, you know, I like having Leap Slam around for clearing gaps and maybe getting some initial stun build up, but I don't actually want to eat the heavy, the fully broken armor debuff. Like, so, you know, that's kind of where we were. Also, I played around with Rolling Slam for a while. I like it, but it's like, it's way slower and clumsier to use than Sunder, and it doesn't have the like value of being able to snipe guys from off screen. Alright, I think that pretty much covers everything with respect to skills and support gems. There are definitely some things you can wiggle around if you like. I did play around with, I can't remember the name of the support gem, but the one that forms consecrated ground on the end of your like slam on Stampede, gives you basically 5% life per second all the time while you're into maps, and that was really good too, but I ultimately erred in the direction of just having more damage, more clear. I didn't really feel like I needed that defense after all. Alright, now let's take a look at what I've done with the tree. So I am taking full advantage of all of the weapon set 1 and 2. So what I've done with weapon set 2 is I'm using a shield in that set. I'm not using a shield in my main hand setup. I don't feel like I need it. I feel like Giant's Blood would actually just be a straight downgrade for where I'm at. I'm not using any skills with weapon set 2. I am using weapon set 2 specifically for this. Light on your feet and momentum. These are two bonuses that make you move much faster, as you can see with weapon set 2, 43% move speed. Weapon set 1, 26. So I do have all my skills set to only use weapon set 1. As you can see, weapon set 1, weapon set 1, weapon set 1, etc. So weapon set 2, the reason I use this is just simply so I can like sprint around maps when I need to. I can sprint around a map. You know, if I'm like, I've cleared everything in an area and I realize I have to backtrack, I'll start running, switch weapons, and then now I'm moving quite a lot faster than I would be if I didn't have those points in. Now, something I've noticed, maybe I'm wrong, but something I've noticed is I've gotten heavy stunned a few times. I've never died once while heavy stunned while sprinting around with the shield up, and I think you might be able to block during that. Even if you can't, I've still taken like a ton of block nodes, and then this Fizz recoup, Fizz whatever damage prevented recouped bonus. I think that's why I've never died due to being heavy stunned. So yeah, that's been useful. And then all the main hand stuff, I'm just taking like normal damage area bonuses. I'm also using this wonderful ancestrally boosted damage wheel. That's part of why my ancestrally boosted skills are so enormous and hit so damn hard. I'm also using a time loss jewel down here that gives notable passives on skills in the radius, gain 1 rage on hit, and then also boosts the effective notable passives in the radius. So I'm getting, instead of 15% armor applying to elemental damage, I'm getting 18%. I'm also getting some more armor here. I'm getting 10 max rage out of battle chariots. I thought about putting points into frantic fighter and tactical retreat. That's definitely something I'm still thinking about, but like, you know, a bit more point investment required to get there. But I do think that this is actually like a decent set of points because you are surrounded a lot of the time whenever you're fighting on a warrior, you know, jumping or sprinting into packs. I've also taken Unyielding, this set of bonuses. I really like reducing slowing potency of debuffs. Like, that's just a good feeling to me. I like the idea of like being a big, heavy guy who's like, you know, Jason Voorhees, right? Like, you're not super fast, but you can't be slowed. And then the attack speed along the way is really good. I think what you've pretty much always been hit recently, so that's like 21% more attack speed in this wheel. You know, you compare that to like up here, I think you only get like 14% attack speed, so not as good. I've also anointed Acceleration for move speed and attack speed. It feels so much better. I did try playing around with some other things like Overwhelm, some things that would maybe be like more, air quotes, better acceptable for a two-handed build that just had like reduced attack speed or increased damage, increased stun build up, and they just felt bad. There was one other bonus up in this area of the tree. I don't remember where it is. Might be one of these bonuses. Here it is, Force Wave. I used this very early on just because it was super cheap to enchant or anoint onto the neck. Agreed into Paranoia is super cheap. Bit of extra stun build up and physical damage, definitely not ideal long term. I really, really, really like acceleration. I like moving quicker, and I definitely feel like I'm clearing pretty quickly for a, non-Deadeye build. So I am taking a lot of points into armor applying to elemental damage, and as you can see, this is my standing around in hideout with my two-hander on. I'm at 25,000 armor. I did put my final ascendancy points into Stone Skin rather than into Earthbreaker. I would like to get Earthbreaker, like long-term, once I feel tankier. I'm like level 98 or something. I might swap this over into Earthbreaker. But I'm just not doing that right now. Like it would be like 20% more damage, which would be great. But the tankiness I'm getting out of Stone Skin is amazing. Like, I've been doing maps that have like monsters break 50% of physical damage dealt from your armor. And I mean, they're hitting me and I'm literally losing like 12 armor, because I'm just so tanky. So 25,000 armor baseline, no buffs from, what's it called? Scavenge Plating. With Scavenge Plating rolling, I have over 33,000 armor, I think, in maps pretty consistently. And I have close to 200% armor applying to fire and lightning damage. So we're just looking at like close to 70,000 armor applying to fire and lightning damage, and then a little less for cold. The only real weakness I have is just that my chaos res isn't that great. That is why I'm using a chaos and like an amethyst charm. This doesn't apply to dot. I mean, like if you get hit and then there's a dot, it'll work on that. But if you just get hit by a dot, you walk onto a chaos ground effect, there's not really anything you can do. So that's probably the biggest weakness I have, and that's really the only thing that kills me is walking into like chaos ground effects or that stupid abyss ground effect that kills literally everyone. And so because of this, I don't feel that I need to use Giant's Blood. See, I was making my way back to Giant's Blood eventually. Giant's Blood really has two downsides. One, you have to have a huge amount of strength, and then two, the amount of strength that you get doesn't convert into a huge life increase. This is okay if you really want the effective health that comes from like having block chance, but the problem is I block everything with my face and I don't feel a damn thing. So I just don't need that block chance. Like the other advantages you would get out of wearing a shield is like, I mean, obviously there's block, you can get life and armor, you can get resistances, those all sound good. Like it would be nice to have another armor slot to equip, but having to get, right now I'm at like 215 strength, not really trying to stack it. I would need to get up to like 490 strength. So I would need to more than double my amount of strength, which would mean a lot of skills would need to be, a lot of stuff would need to be like reconfigured, moved elsewhere. And I just don't want to do that. So that's kind of where I'm at on the tree and so on. I think if I were playing a Warbringer, I would definitely be going Giant's Blood, but it's a Titan. I think Titan's super underrated by the community. I think you get so much armor contributing to your elemental damage reduction. Like I cannot believe how hard the community missed on how good this stat wound up being. It is wildly good. I'm getting 50,000 armor, or I mean in maps with buffs going 65,000 armor applying to elemental damage hits before they then run into my resistances. So I can do minus max res and Cursed by Ellie weakness maps all the time. I don't even notice them at all. Alright, so with that being said, now let's just talk a little bit about gear. Most of this gear is just like kind of a mix of stats and whatever. You want to get Fizz and if you can get it, fire attack damage to attacks on your rings, that's always good. Resistance is life. Anywhere that you can get armor applying to elemental damage is very good. That's all of the standard armor pieces. Again, more life, armor, resistances, all that stuff is good. If you can get at least one source of life, like Fizz attack damage leached as life, that's also useful. I did take blood magic because I was having trouble getting magic or life leached as, or what, damage leached as mana. So like I just gave up on even trying that, just switched over to blood magic, and I haven't really minded it. You do want to get as many plus gem levels as you can. I don't have any on my gloves or neck, which is definitely like the next big couple of upgrades I would shoot for. Getting a lot of armor on your body armor makes the passive that I'm using here, Stone Skin, much more valuable. If you don't have a particularly high body armor, then I would say don't bother with that, but I do, so I am. And then there's the weapon. So weapon is, crucial to playing any sort of physical attack-based build. You want as much physical damage as you can get. You don't really care about attack speed so much. This is actually deterministically craftable, and one of the members of our Discord did actually put together like a brief written guide. We have pinned that, so rather than do like a whole breakdown on how to do that, I will say just simply go to the Discord, check that guide out. I was like kind of cooking on something that basically a worse version of crafting up weapons. This is a lot more effective and cheaper than what I did. I wound up crafting 2, sold 1, made like 5 divines off of that, and then the other one, the one that I have here, I kept for myself. And yeah, it works really well. So shout out to them. Thank you very much for sharing that with everybody. And just another reason to join the Discord. You'll get like lots more info like this from your fellow PoE players and people to hang out and talk with. As for the rest of this gear, pretty much all of it is like either self-found and crafted, or maybe like I'll try and find pieces that look like they have a little bit of potential, like I think this ring had like life and fizz damage on it and leech and no other stats, I think, and then I just bought it and closed my eyes and exalted it up to where it is. Felt really good about that. And then this one I know I bought with the fizz damage, life, and rarity, and that was it that was on it, and I exalted it twice and desecrated it up to where it is now, so I feel pretty decent about that one. I do have a fair amount of rarity on my gear, actually. I think I'm rocking like 72% rarity, which isn't insane, but considering how early we are on in the league, I think it's working really well. Finally, I'll just finish with the charms, and the life flask is whatever, you just want to get a big life flask. But the charms, I played around with not using a freeze immunity charm for a while, and ultimately I felt like I had to come back to using that. I did try to use an ignite immunity, I can't remember what it's called, Bera's Anguish or something, the unique ignite immunity charm, and it just wasn't really working for me. Ultimately, like this one, yeah, I played around with it, I didn't really love it. So switch back to freeze immunity, and then slow immunity. I highly, highly, highly recommend this. Yeah, big fan of this. All right, that is it. That is Warrior. It is so good. It is so much better than everyone expected, including myself, and I had high hopes, but it is really just blasting everything. It looks good. It feels good. I love it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord so you can say hello to me in Sunset, if you haven't already. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us so we can keep making more PoE content, become a channel member as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.